When she walks away or hurts you, in that moment, she believes she has all the control. She convinces herself that you'll be waiting, that you'll chase her, and that no matter how she treats you, your love and attention will always be there as a safety net. But the truth is, when you stop giving her that energy, when you choose silence over chasing, the absence you create in her life begins to hit harder than she ever expected. Silence becomes louder than any words you could have spoken because it forces her to sit with the reality of your absence. At first, she may brush it off and think she's fine, but slowly that quietness becomes heavy, almost haunting, because she realizes something she took for granted has been removed from her world. Your absence creates space for reflection, and that space is uncomfortable for her. She might try to distract herself with friends, social media, or even other men, but those distractions only mask the surface. Deep down, she knows something is missing. That missing piece is not just your presence, but the way you made her feel when you were around. The way you gave her consistency, energy, and stability without her even having to ask. Suddenly, she feels the weight of that loss, and the more she tries to ignore it, the more powerful it becomes. This is why so often, when a man goes silent, a woman starts to think of him more than when he was actively chasing. The silence shifts the dynamic. It forces her to confront what life is like without the man who once poured into her. And here's the powerful part. She doesn't just notice the absence, she notices her own reaction to it. She realizes that she misses you not because you're bombarding her with messages or begging for attention, but because of the void your silence has created. That's when her ego begins to crack. What she expected was a man who would fight for her no matter what, who would continue showing up even after being hurt. Instead, she finds a man who values himself enough to walk away, to stay silent, to protect his energy. And in that moment, she begins to feel a shift of power. What she once controlled slips out of her hands because she realizes you are not someone who can be toyed with or taken for granted. Absence is powerful because it forces appreciation. People rarely value what's always available, but they start to recognize its worth once it's gone. Your silence is the mirror she cannot avoid. It makes her replay memories, compare you to others, and think about why she feels unsettled without you in her life. Over time, those thoughts turn into emotions, and emotions turn into action. That's why so many women come back after hurting a man, not because of what he said, not because of what he did to convince her, but because his absence revealed the truth she didn't want to see when he was around. The reality is simple. Silence after being hurt is not weakness, it's strength. And it's that very strength that makes her realize just how much you truly meant. When she hurts you, in her mind, she believes you'll always be there, that no matter how she treats you, your love and energy will still flow toward her. But when you pull back, when you stop feeding her with your attention, she starts to feel something she didn't expect. Curiosity mixed with doubt. She begins to wonder why you aren't reacting the way she thought you would. This curiosity slowly grows into confusion because her usual pattern of behavior isn't working anymore. She might even test you with silence of her own or subtle actions just to see if you'll break first. But when you don't, that's when the shift happens inside her. She starts questioning herself instead of questioning you. She wonders, did I lose him? Why isn't he chasing me? Why does it feel like he's not even bothered? That self-questioning is the beginning of her realizing your value. Her curiosity then turns into reflection. In those quiet moments, she replays the times you were consistent, loyal, and available. She remembers how you treated her with respect, how you showed care without hesitation, and how you were always present when she needed someone. But now, with your silence, that comfort is gone. And the mind naturally gravitates toward what it can't have. When you were easily available, she didn't think much of it. But now that you've withdrawn, she begins to see how much effort and stability you truly brought into her life. The very things she may have overlooked or dismissed before suddenly become clearer. This is the part where doubt creeps in. She might start to wonder if she made the wrong choice by pulling away or by hurting you. And doubt is a powerful emotion because it makes her feel unsettled. When a woman feels unsettled about losing a man who once gave her strength, she naturally starts thinking about ways to get that energy back. This doesn't happen overnight, it builds over time. The longer you stay calm and in control, the deeper her curiosity and doubt grow, and the more she feels the sting of missing you. That's why silence is never just silence. It's a message in itself. It says, I know my worth, and I won't fight for someone who doesn't value me. That unspoken message is louder than anything you could say with words. And when she starts thinking about why you're not chasing, she also starts comparing you to others. She sees that most men would have begged, pleaded, or tried desperately to get her back, but you didn't. You chose self-respect over desperation. That makes you stand out. It shows her you're not like the rest, and that realization alone stirs something deep inside her. It makes her not only respect you more, but also miss what she lost, because rarity creates value. In the end, her curiosity about your silence becomes the very reason she comes back, because it forces her to see what she overlooked and realize the man she thought she could easily walk away from is the same man she now struggles to stop thinking about. When she comes back after hurting you, it's often not just about missing you. It's about realizing the stability and emotional security she lost when she decided to walk away or push you aside. In the moment when she hurt you, she might have been caught up in emotions, ego, or even outside influences telling her she could do better, that you weren't good enough, or that she didn't need you. But after the dust settles, reality has a way of catching up. She starts to notice that the world outside isn't as warm, stable, or reliable as the connection she once had with you. She compares the way others treat her with how you treated her, and those comparisons almost always fall short. What makes this so powerful is that emotional security is rare. Many men can offer excitement, attention, or even financial gifts, but very few can provide that sense of calm and reassurance that comes from a man who knows who he is, a man who stands firm no matter what storms come his way. That's what she felt when she was with you. She may not have fully appreciated it then, but absence sharpens awareness. When she's away from you, she feels the void that no one else seems able to fill. The laughter you shared, the way you listened to her, the consistency you provided, all of that lingers in her mind when she faces the chaos of life without you. This is why women often circle back, even after causing pain. It's not just that they miss the person, it's that they miss the emotional environment you created. And here's where many men go wrong. They think that when she returns, they should open the door wide immediately, but what really keeps her invested is making her see that your presence is a privilege, not a guarantee. If you rush to forgive, to give her the same access she once had, she won't truly feel the cost of her actions. But if you remain calm, collected, and measured, when she reappears, she will quickly realize that her place in your life is no longer automatic. That understanding is what makes her value you differently. Her coming back is often less about sudden love and more about realizing the grass wasn't greener, that the world outside is colder than the warmth she once took for granted. This realization is powerful because it makes her respect the man who didn't chase, who didn't beg, and who didn't fold when she hurt him. Instead, you held your ground, showing that you don't give your emotional energy to someone who hasn't earned it. That strength creates attraction on a deeper level than anything superficial. And in the end, it's not her words that matter when she comes back, it's her actions. If she shows consistency, effort, and genuine change, then maybe she's truly realized what she lost. If not, your silence and strength will remind her that you are not afraid to let go. And that's why she'll always feel drawn back to you. When she comes back after hurting you, one of the biggest reasons is the power shift that takes place when you refuse to chase her. In the beginning, when she walked away or did something that caused you pain, she may have believed she had the upper hand. She might have assumed you would come running back, begging for her attention or proving your worth to her. That expectation is often rooted in how many men respond when they feel rejected. They panic, they plead, they give up their self-respect just to keep her close. But when you don't do that, when you choose silence and self-control over chasing and desperation, everything changes. It forces her to see you differently. Instead of confirming her belief that she could treat you poorly and still keep you around, you quietly prove that you are a man who won't tolerate disrespect or game. That silence is what triggers a deep curiosity in her mind. She starts to wonder why you didn't react like most men would. She questions why you weren't begging for another chance or flooding her phone with messages. That confusion eats at her because it challenges her sense of control. Women are often more affected by the absence of reaction than by any words you could have said. Your silence tells her that you know your value and that you don't need her validation to feel complete. This kind of strength is rare, and it makes her reconsider the image she had of you when she hurt you. Over time, this power shift grows stronger. While she might have initially thought she could move on easily, the lack of attention from you becomes more noticeable than anything else. Other men may give her compliments, affection, or even chase her aggressively, but none of that fills the void left by your quiet strength. Because you didn't try to force her to stay, you gave her space to see for herself what life feels like without you. And that contrast is often unbearable. That's when regret starts to set in. She realizes she miscalculated, that by hurting you, she risked losing a man who had the strength and self-respect most men lack. This dynamic is also why she often returns not just with curiosity, but with a different level of respect. Your silence didn't just protect your dignity, it raised your value in her eyes. It showed her that you're not desperate, that your life doesn't revolve around her, and that you're capable of walking away if she doesn't bring the right energy into your world. That realization forces her to chase what she once thought she could take for granted. In the end, it's not about revenge or making her suffer. It's about standing so firm in who you are that she has no choice but to feel the weight of her actions. And when that weight sinks in, it often pulls her right back to where she once thought she could walk away without consequence. Another powerful reason why she comes back after hurting you is because of the emotional bond that remains unshaken, even when she tried to ignore it. No matter how much she acted as though she didn't care, deep down she felt something real for you at some point, and that kind of connection doesn't just disappear. When a woman walks away, she may try to convince herself that she's done, that she has moved on, but emotions don't always follow logic. When you step back, stay silent, and refuse to chase her, you create the space where those buried emotions rise back to the surface. The absence of your presence makes her remember the little things she thought she had forgotten. The laughter, the comfort, the security, and the unique way you made her feel. Often when a woman hurts you, it's not always because she stopped caring. Sometimes it's because she was testing boundaries, acting on emotions, or even influenced by her own pride or ego. She may have expected you to fight for her, to prove yourself, to reassure her of your interest by refusing to let go. But when you didn't react, when you showed her through your actions that you're not going to tolerate disrespect or games, her emotions begin to work against her. That emotional bond, instead of fading, starts pulling her back toward you because silence amplifies what she feels rather than erases it. The truth is, women are emotional by nature, and when those emotions are tied to you, the weight of silence becomes unbearable over time. She might distract herself with others, fill her time with work or friends, or even try to convince herself that she's better off. But the quiet reminders keep creeping in. How you treated her differently, how you carried yourself with confidence, how you brought stability into her life. When those thoughts resurface in the silence, the emotions that once made her feel safe and valued with you begin to haunt her. That is why so many women circle back after leaving. It's not just about what you did for her, it's about how you made her feel, and those feelings often come back stronger when they're no longer being fed. Another layer to this is the fact that emotional bonds become more valuable when contrasted with emptiness. She might have thought she could replace you easily, but when she experiences what's out there, she quickly realizes that not everyone can create that same deep emotional connection. The compliments from others don't hit the same, the attention doesn't feel as real, and the conversations don't bring the same fulfillment. In that comparison, her bond with you grows more powerful in hindsight, and her regret pushes her to reconnect with what she once underestimated. At the end of the day, she comes back because emotions don't lie. No matter how much pride or stubbornness she had when she hurt you, the silence makes her confront the truth of what she still feels. And when those emotions finally overpower her pride, she's drawn back to the very man she once thought she could walk away from. And one of the biggest reasons why she comes back after hurting you is because she realizes she lost access to something she thought would always be there: your energy, your attention, and your presence. Many times when someone hurts you, it's done with the assumption that you'll still be around, that no matter how far they push, you'll eventually forgive, chase, or make things right again. But when you don't react that way, when you pull back completely and allow silence to replace your attention, it shocks her system. Suddenly, she's confronted with the reality that you are not a man who will tolerate being taken for granted. And that loss hits harder than she expected. It's in that moment of contrast that her perspective begins to shift. When you were present, she may have overlooked your value because it was so consistent. The good morning texts, the calls, the affection, the time you invested, it all became normal to her, something she subconsciously assumed would always be there. But when you removed it, when you cut off that supply of energy, she felt a void immediately. And here's the key: that void isn't just about missing the attention, it's about realizing the significance of who was giving it. Anyone can text her, anyone can show temporary interest, but not everyone can provide the consistency, strength, and emotional depth that you brought to the table. And this realization often doesn't hit right away. At first, she might stay stubborn, telling herself she doesn't need you, that she made the right choice. She may even distract herself with other people or situations. But none of it fills the space you left behind. Over time, that silence grows louder and she begins to see the cost of her actions. The man she hurt is not waiting for her on standby. Instead, he has moved forward, focused on himself, and demonstrated self-respect. That forces her to confront her own mistake. She let go of someone she can't replace. What makes this even more powerful is that she begins to realize the emotional consequences of her own decisions. It's no longer just about what happened between you two, it's about the standard you set. By not allowing her back in immediately, by not rewarding her bad behavior with your time or effort, you silently teach her the price of losing you. And this price becomes something she feels deeply because it's tied to regret. Regret is one of the strongest motivators. And when she feels it enough, it pushes her to circle back to test if there's still a chance to reconnect with the man who stood his ground. At the heart of it, she comes back because she realizes she can't get the same access to your presence anywhere else. Your silence wasn't weakness, it was strength. It communicated more than words ever could. And in the end, it's that realization that losing you meant losing something truly rare that makes her return